Hi, everyone. Happy Friday. I hope you're doing well. I know that I posted on LinkedIn yesterday that I was going to do a live where I was going to talk about how to make yourself more visible in this very, very competitive market, whether you are a leader who is looking for a better opportunity than where you are. You know, maybe everything is good on paper and you tell yourself that you should feel lucky because you have a job and others don't have a job, but you know deep down inside that you could offer more to the world. And because of the state of the economy, you're telling yourself that you should just be comfortable and okay with what your current state is. Or maybe you are actively looking for an opportunity, whether you're unemployed or you're in a toxic situation, or you simply feel like you're in an underdog and you're not getting the opportunities that you wish you could be getting because you feel invisible. You feel like you are an undiscovered leader. You are very talented, but if only an organization finds you and gives you a chance, you would be in a much better place, making a greater impact, making the compensation that you want, and feeling like you're in a place where you are in your zone of genius and you are feeling challenged because we all want to feel challenged. I mean, I don't know about you. I am a high achiever. And if things are just too easy, I get bored. So today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk to you about how you can turn strangers to like you, trust you, and hire you. And most importantly, friends, I'm not going to be sharing this based on theoretical stuff. I'm going to be very vulnerable. I'm going to share with you my journey. Honestly, the high achiever in me almost, and this is why I'm late. I did say that I would, go live at 12 p.m. Eastern today, and it is 12 p.m. Eastern today. But the reason I am late is because I was overthinking this. I really wanted to put an amazing presentation where all of you would just, learn so much. It's really hard to distill 5 years of so many learnings into 30 minutes, right? But I decided to practice what I preach. This is not going to be perfect. This is not going to be overly polished. Um, you know, it's still going to give you a ton of value because as high achievers, we can be hard on ourselves. And what's more important than making this overly polished is that you get the truth behind the scenes of what I have personally learned as someone who was invisible, um, felt like a corporate underdog, quit over text, didn't know anyone, didn't have a amazing network, didn't know the right people, and went from 500 followers to 44,000 followers in the last 5 years, as well as built a business because I'm not, you know, a an influencer. I'm actually a business owner and a coach who has been able to monetize my expertise and make a six-figure revenue. Okay. Not to mention that I've helped over 1,000 people replicate my strategies to gain visibility into the roles that they want, even write books, get discovered by organizations, move countries, and get into the shiny big tech organizations and big name organizations. So I'm going to distill all of these secrets if you stick around till the end. Now, if you drop off after 10 minutes, 15 minutes, of course, you're not going to get these strategies, right? So I do encourage you to stick around till the end. Hi, Sabi. It's really nice to see you. Feel free, guys, to drop in, say hi, let me know that you're here. That's just going to bring my energy level up and make me want to keep going, right? It's like you're sitting there and watching a performance. The more you clap, the more the performers are going to be energized. Alrighty. So If you are actively looking for a job, searching for a job in stealth mode, wanting to grow your career, you're a career transitioner, maybe you're a coach, career coach, agile coach, consultant, and you're looking to attract opportunities, this is the right training for you. Okay. And why do I know this? As I mentioned, I know this from experience. I've helped over 1,000 professionals all the way to the C-level in more than 7 countries land jobs that they love. So these strategies don't just work if you're in the US or Canada or the UK, they work anywhere you are in the world. And these are the types of organizations, just a subset. There are a lot more. But just to give you all an idea of the types of organizations that my clients are landed, and many of my clients actually were not, sending hundreds of jobs applications. They've actually had hiring managers slide in their DMs and offer them opportunities for roles. So I'm going to teach you how to do this because none of us love chasing. We want to attract. Chasing just puts us in a state of desperation. And the more you chase, the more rejected you feel, and the more demotivated you feel, and the more you want to give up. And so my goal is that you don't feel that way because it's not a great feeling. It impacts your confidence. So, apart from all of these, successes and metrics that I shared with you, why a lot of the strategies that I'm going to share with you work is because I was in the same situation like most of you. I felt invisible. I felt like I didn't belong in rooms, and I felt like an underdog. And this is actually a photo of me when I was in the corporate world. These are all amazing people that I'm surrounded by in this image. However, there may be a smile on my face, but deep down inside, I did not feel like I belonged in that room. I did not feel like I was good enough to be there. So I also understand what it feels like to be an imposter, to look at the mirror and see on the other side a distorted figure of you. If, feel like you are not as capable as other people might tell you that you are. So I really, share this from experience. So how my journey started is I launched my business in 2020. Now, when I say I launched my business, I want to say that in a very loose term. I made the decision to become a career coach and work for myself. And at that point, I had 0 clients. I felt like a corporate reject. I had just, quit over text. I did a couple of contracts and they didn't pan out. And I, wanted to give it a try and start my own business because I felt that was the only option for me at that point. Now, it was very scary because, like I mentioned, I didn't know anyone. I only had 500 followers. And if you see my image on the left here, you'll know what I'm talking about. I mean, if you look at the left-hand side and compare it to the right-hand side, you can see a striking difference in terms of my level of confidence, right? You can see how, it's kind of shy and, smiling, covering up the insecurity behind the smile. And then on the right hand side, you can see the executive presence, the confidence. You can tell when someone is successful, right? When not just when someone is successful, but when they feel successful, because there's a huge difference between the two. You might be successful on paper, you might be luckier than other people, you might be making the money, that other people wish they could make, but if you don't feel successful on the inside, then that doesn't matter. Okay. So Invisible 2020, full-time CEO of my 6-figure business company in just 3 years. And look at the 22,236 followers. And then in 2023, I went from being a career coach with a successful 6-figure business to becoming an executive coach and someone who actually mentors career coaches. Okay. So that is why what I'm going to be sharing with you comes from experience, not theory. And for those of you who have a passion in terms of wanting to spread your knowledge to the world, um, because visibility is not just about getting a job. There's more to our career than just getting a job. Some of you are thought leaders. Some of you want to be speakers. Some of you want to, spread your knowledge to the masses. And so one of the things that I was able to do is also land a lot of speaking opportunities. And those opportunities came to me. I did not pursue them. Hey, how's it going, Ala? Greetings from Morocco. Yes. Well, it's really hard for me to accept invitations because what happens is that LinkedIn caps the number of connections to 30,000. But my friend, if you hit the follow button, you're going to be able to see my content as well as send me a message. If you go into my profile, there's a message button and you can send me a message that way. Thank you, though, for popping in and introducing yourself. I really appreciate it. Okay. These are just some of the events that I spoke at. And so if you want to learn how to also attract speaking opportunities, then this is a great, great presentation for you. Okay. Who wants to save $150,000? Let me know in the chat if you want to save $150,000, because that's how much I've spent in the 5 years learning everything that I know today about how to position yourself as the only choice for opportunities, how to market yourself, not just on LinkedIn, but beyond LinkedIn. So let me know whether you're watching this live or watching the replay. Put down in the chat if you actually want to save $150,000. Put in yes if that is you. I'm curious because I don't know, maybe I shouldn't keep going if no one wants to save $150,000. So please put that in the chat for me so that I know. All right. I see a couple of people who want to save more than $150,000. So why am I giving this knowledge away for free? Well, there are many reasons. Part of the reason is, having been creating content and sharing my thought leadership for 5 years now, consistently on LinkedIn. By the way, it really takes a lot of effort to do that. Putting this presentation together, for example, took me like 3 hours, right? And I don't get paid for this. But the reason I keep doing this is because of these DMs that I get in my inbox. Like this wonderful individual who basically said to me that he watched one of my LinkedIn lives and it really helped him with his interview. And the hiring manager was really impressed and said that he was a very skilled storyteller. And so that just warms my heart that, I ended up helping someone actually convert his interview into an offer just by listening to what I teach. And another person who was listening to my podcast. So if you guys didn't know, I have a career transition podcast. If you go on my LinkedIn and scroll down, you will see it. Let me just show you guys actually where it is in case you don't know where it is. Let us see if I can do this fast. Goodness gracious, where are we here? I got so many windows open, it's not even funny. Okay, let me share my LinkedIn screen so that you guys know where to find my podcast. The famous, famous podcast that has gotten this person $100,000 role when she's never had the title before. If you scroll all the way down, you'll see here host and executive career coach of the Career Transition Podcast. There are 2 links. One of them takes you to Spotify, and the other one takes you to Apple Podcasts. So you can click on one of them, and it'll take you to my podcast. Okay. going back to this presentation, apart from all of these beautiful messages that I get in my inbox, the other reason that I do this is because, like I mentioned to you all, I know what it feels like to feel like an underdog, to be that kind of person who works very hard, has an incredible work ethic, pours your heart and soul into what you do, yet does not feel recognized. So, quick story, um 2014, I was working at an organization where I actually helped, the company land a client that is worth millions in terms of revenue to the organization. And the reason they were able to get that client is because I spearheaded a team and helped them create a proof of concept of basically the product that would help the client, save them time and just make their lives easier. Yet, within a couple of months of receiving that award, my boss wanted to force me to relocate basically an hour away from where I lived. And it was impossible for me to get there because I didn't have a car. And he gave me an ultimatum: either I relocate or they fire me. And so, because of the amount of stress, I ended up getting pancreatitis and I eventually lost my pancreas. And so, I just want you to sit with that feeling of how, I poured my heart and soul. I worked late nights. I led a team. I actually proved myself. And in the end, I felt like I was disposable to the organization. And the reason I was in so much stress and ended up with pancreatitis is because I did not have another option. And why didn't I have another option? Because I was invisible to other organizations. And this is why it's important for me to teach people to become more visible. Even if you have things going well in your company right now, you don't know what's going to happen. The world is changing fast. You all know this. One day the economy is good, the other day the economy is not good. One day the company is doing well, the other day they're laying people off. So you need to future proof your career. And how you do that is by making yourself visible. And I learned the hard lesson when this happened to me. Okay? Never again. This is why I take so much time in terms of becoming visible. And this is why I have a 44,000 following on LinkedIn, so that I'm never at that point where I feel like I'm at the mercy of a company. Okay? So, part of the reason why I quit over text as well is because I felt unrecognized. And so this is why I'm invested in teaching all of these strategies for you. And for those of you who stick all the way to the end, I'm going to bribe you because I know that some of you procrastinate and some of you don't follow through. And so if I have to bribe people to actually better their situation in their career, I have no shame in doing that. And so for all of you who stay till the end, I'm going to offer you a prize. This prize is actually worth $100. And the prize will be available to the first 20 people who message me and indicate that they've stayed till the end. So you'll need to comment to prove that you stayed till the end on this live, and then send me a DM and I will share with you the free gift. Okay? So there's your bribe. So who here, now that I've shared with you all the reasons that you need to be visible, who here wants to grow your career? Who wants to have higher pay, more decision-making power at organizations, more freedom, more of the things you enjoy? Let me know in the chat if that is you. And if, hey, you see this later because I did a poor job in announcing this LinkedIn Live, put that in the comment and I will follow up with you. Okay, now I have a question for everyone in here. How can you guarantee that you shrink your career and stay stagnant? Let me know in the chat. How can you guarantee that? How can you guarantee that you shrink your career or stay stagnant? What is the worst thing that you can ever do to create that result? You did not stay till the end. We are not in the end. Nice try, though. Um, so, how could you guarantee that you shrink your career or stay in the end? Tell no one about your experience, right? If you don't talk to anyone, if you don't share your experience, if you don't tell anyone about yourself, then of course you are never going to be visible. And that is a guarantee that you'll shrink your career or stay stagnant. Hide, don't talk to anyone, don't share your thought leadership, don't network, don't pursue opportunities that are a career growth for you. I call them moonshot opportunities. And tell yourself that you don't belong in rooms, because the more you tell yourself that you don't belong in rooms and the more you lean into your insecurity, that's a guarantee that you will never, ever be discovered at opportunities that you deserve. Exactly, Philip. Do nothing. That is the best guarantee to create career stagnation. Hello, my friend. Thank you for joining from India. I wonder what time it is over there. How late is it right now in India? I'm so curious. Um, Matt, I was going to say by not speaking up as well. Exactly. You know, there is a little bit of thing that I observe a lot of people do, and this is as someone who's not just a career coach. I used to be an agile coach as well, and my developers would tell me, "Well, my work should just speak for itself." Okay, keep saying that, and then don't wonder why the other person who went for drinks, with the team and the boss got promoted and you didn't. And don't wonder why the person who made a point of reminding leaders and executives of their achievements and what they've done ended up getting promoted. I recently worked with someone who landed at a law firm, and she had a lot of imposter syndrome. She said to me, "Oh my God, I'm surrounded by lawyers and I'm the only person who doesn't have a law degree and isn't a lawyer. I'm worried about failing and not, passing my 90 days." And she had a lot of PTSD from being laid off before. And her and I worked together. And you know what? Within a couple of months of working together, here's what happened. The managing director personally reached out to her and asked her to be on one of his projects. And she went from the type of person who would work through vacations and burn herself out to someone who actually closes her laptop. Yet, despite working less hard than what she was doing before, she ended up getting recognition. And that goes to show that it's not about working hard that gets you recognized and more visible. It's actually about telling your story and talking about yourself. Yes, exactly. This is how you can guarantee. Although, what I'll tell you, it's not about updating your skills, my friend, or learning new tools. There's so many people who update their skills and learn new tools. I have clients who have PhDs and a million certifications. And guess what? They don't end up getting recognized and they don't end up getting promoted. Okay. So if you don't tell anyone about what you do and how awesome you are, no one is going to hire you. No one is going to recognize you. No one is going to give you opportunities, right? And some of you might be laughing and thinking, well, this is simple. Duh. Guess what? You are all doing this right now. Come on, be honest with me. Do you 100% believe that you are making yourself visible enough? Do you talk about yourself enough? Do you tell your story enough? Do you get in front of people enough? Are you in an opportunity that's getting you very excited, where you feel that you are operating at your highest potential, you wouldn't be here, right? If that was the case. So, let's all be honest with each other. And, the result of that is that many of you are leaving money on the table by not doing that, by not putting yourself out in the correct way, not in the salesy way where you're spamming people and all of these ridiculous, strategies that you're being taught by others, cold emails and go, email 100, people at 100 companies. We both know that this is the best way to get you ghosted. I don't do that. And another little story is that early this week, I actually had a recruiter reach out to me. And guess what, everyone? The last time I worked at a company was 5 years ago. Yet since 2019 up to now, I've never applied to a single job. And I constantly get opportunities for six-figure contracts in my inbox. Okay. So I don't do the applying jobs and hundreds of jobs. And yet that still happens. Okay. I'm not just going to talk about LinkedIn, but I wanted to remind you all that LinkedIn is the world's largest professional network with more than, this is a little outdated, it's actually over 1 billion people, over 200 countries. And think about this. You're all on LinkedIn listening to me demonstrate my thought leadership. So there's your proof. A lot of you underutilize this. Okay. As I mentioned to Biplab, you can have all the experience in the world, but if you don't know how to advertise your values, of course, recruiters are not going to find you or call you. Okay. So if you want to land any $150,000 to $400,000 offer, this is the formula. Write it down. Stick it on a Post-it note in front of you. Number one, you need to get found. If no one knows you or finds you, how the heck are you going to get opportunities? Step number two, you need to attract people. You need to basically not only be found, but you need to be like a magnet to people, enough for them to actually want to learn more about you, where they feel, wow, this person's profile or whatever this person is saying is very, very amazing and really resonates with me. I want to have a conversation with them. And then once they have the conversation with you, you need to be influential, okay? It's not enough to get eyeballs and visibility. Visibility on its own is not enough. You need to be able to be persuasive as a leader. So those are the three things that I want you to remember. So when you do all the tactical things, like try to stuff keywords in your resume and do all this crazy stuff, ask yourself, is what I'm doing in alignment with those three things that are essential in order for me to get opportunities? Understand the big picture, right? Okay, so here are the challenges that some of you may be experiencing. And I am curious to know which of these challenges resonates with you the most. I should have numbered them. But lessons learned, you will have to make a greater effort in typing up these challenges if they resonate to you. Who here has imposter syndrome? Be honest with me, because I still do to this day. Part of me didn't even want to do this live. And it's ridiculous because even with all of this experience, I still question myself sometimes. A lot of it is upbringing. A lot of it is cultural because I was raised in a, Middle Eastern family where you have to put your head down and never brag. Some of you, may have imposter syndrome because maybe you had a bad experience with a previous employer, with a manager who maybe didn't recognize you. Maybe some of you want to, go for something bigger, but because you haven't been in the industry, because, you feel like you're entering a new territory, then you end up thinking that you're not capable. So, who here has imposter syndrome? Type that up for me, my friends, if you have imposter syndrome. And you know what? By typing it up, I'm going to type it up. What you're doing is you're helping someone else out there who thinks that they're alone. So, put that in the chat if you have imposter syndrome. Um, I don't know if it's showing up right now on LinkedIn, but I just typed it up. Okay. Because I want people who are out there who think that they're alone to not feel alone because we all go through that. The second challenge, tell me if you feel that way. One of the reasons is you feel you don't have enough direct experience. Maybe you want to embark into a new adventure, a new role, a new industry. And because you've never had the title, you have no idea how to map your transferable experience to the role that you want. You feel challenged. Thank you, Marie, for sharing this. Stepping into a new field makes you ask, am I enough for this? Thank you for your honesty. Um, the third one, maybe you are a leader. So type leader if that is you. You have offered so much of yourself for more than 10 years. You've been working as a professional. It doesn't matter what your level is. Maybe you're an individual contributor. Maybe you are a director. Maybe you are a VP. It doesn't matter what level you are. But because you've been in your world for more than 10 years, whether it's in the same industry, in the same organization, you have trouble explaining what you've done because it has become muscle memory. It's hard to put words to it. And this is why you have trouble selling yourself and describing what you do. I'm working right now with an amazing professional who has been in the UN. She's been part of insane operations at a very large scale that would kick I'll be honest, most leaders' butts. Because when you're in crisis situations, it's not even the same as being in the corporate world. I mean, no one's dying in the corporate world. You're not in like critical missions, right? But she has trouble explaining what she's done because it's a lot and it's overwhelming and she doesn't even know where to start. And so if you are in that bucket, put in leader. The other one is, you know what? When you're burnt out, when you're in a toxic environment, revisiting what you've done is painful. And it actually does create imposter syndrome. I had a client who was a VP of marketing, and she was part of an insane merger and acquisition, but she was working around the clock. She went through a lot at that organization. But because she was so tired and burnt out, she was discounting the amazing wins that she was making because she was burnt out and because she was unfulfilled. And when we are in that state of mind, we tend to discount what we've done because of how we feel psychologically, right? And then the other one, you are tired of rejections. Put in rejection if that is you. Maybe because you've been rejected so many times, you start questioning whether the path that you want to go to is reasonable. However, I want to ask you this question. Have you wondered if the issue is not so much that your goal is unreasonable, but it's because the path that you are taking and the way you are going about that path is not the correct way? I'll give you an example. Let us say I want to lose 30 pounds. Okay. I actually do. Some of you don't know this, but I battled migraines for 3 months between June and let's say beginning of September. And so I haven't been able to go to the gym because of that. Exercising was triggering my migraines, but now I'm okay. Don't worry. So if I want to lose 30 pounds, right? And I just starved myself to death to lose those 30 pounds. And then I told myself, well, my goal is unrealistic. I'm never going to lose 30 pounds. Do you think the problem is the goal, or do you think it's how I'm going about it? Right? It's how I'm going about it. So if you're questioning yourself in terms of why you're not landing those jobs that you want, but you're applying to hundreds of jobs, and you're using Chat GPT to basically wordsmith what you've done, and you're not getting results, then you might wonder, right? I mean, there are other people who are getting jobs. Do you think that they are smarter than you? Not really. You're not going about it the right way. That's why. Okay. So, challenges. Let me know whether you're watching this live or the replay, which one you resonate with the most. And you know what? If you type up the one that you resonate with, that's going to actually influence the gift that I give you. I'm going to make sure that the gift that you get is relevant to the challenge that you're trying to overcome. That way the gift is useful. It's not going to be a gift that you just hang on your wall and you never use, right? Okay. So, in order for us to overcome these challenges, and this again comes from my old world of being an agile coach, I love unblocking people. And in order to unblock you, we need to diagnose what you're doing wrong, right? So now what I'm going to do, this is the time where if you have a notebook or if you have a digital notepad, I invite you to start taking notes so that you don't forget. Okay? So the biggest issue that or one of the issues, not the biggest issues, but one of the issues that I see people, experiencing that's getting in their way is they assume the recruiter or hiring manager knows what they do. Okay? This is extremely important. Here's a visual to demonstrate this. This is what the recruiter knows on the left-hand side. And on the right-hand side, this is what you know. And the goal is for you to get the recruiter to know exactly what you know about yourself. Okay? They haven't been with you in your day-to-day. They don't see you and how you operate, right? If you're a product manager and you're amazing and you launch all of these amazing products and all of your developers love you because you're very clear about what the clients want and what needs to be built, the recruiter doesn't know that. They're not with you in meetings. They don't see you in action, right? The goal is for them to have the same information that you have about yourself. And so you assume that they know that, and that is the problem. This is why you're not giving specific information that they're looking for to make a decision. Okay, so here's an example of someone who was describing their experience, because I want to share with you actual examples so that you learn. Read this and tell me if you actually understand what this person did. We were jeopardizing a segment. So this person, this is how they actually describe their experience, right? On their resume. We were jeopardizing a segment of our partners because we were trying to simplify things for them, and we had to think about a different way for them to grow their business. Be honest. Do you understand what this person did? Is it clear? Yes? No? Let me know in the chat. I'll worry a lot if you tell me that it is clear. That means you need a lot of help. Here's the thing. What does partners even mean? A recruiter wants to know if they're hiring you for an organization, they need to know that you know how to work with the types of people that the organization works with, right? So what does even partners mean? Partner could mean anything, right? Be specific. Who were you working with? In this situation, it's a vendor, right? If a company wants someone who knows how to work with vendors, because vendors require a specific type of behavior and communication. The way you communicate with a vendor is different than the way you communicate, let's say, with a customer, right? So if you're not specific, the organization is not going to know that you've went through these experiences and can do the work that they're looking for you to do. The other issue with that statement, jeopardizing a segment, what do we mean by jeopardizing? What is it that that the company was doing that was jeopardizing a segment? And what do we even mean by segment, right? putting the vendor out of business by simplifying the solution, right? So in this situation, after I ask the person a lot of questions, and this is the value that I bring to the table when I work with clients, is that they're so in their head that they don't know what is vague and what doesn't make sense. And so when I asked this client a whole bunch of questions, it turns out that she, the she as a leader wanted to make sure that they didn't lose this vendor, because this vendor is great at what they do. And the issue was that they wanted to make sure that the vendor was actually solving the problems that they wanted to solve instead of just billing for busy work. How many of you have worked with a vendor that ends up just billing hundreds of thousands of dollars and then they don't end up actually delivering what you're looking for, right? So describing it that way. And so some of you, what you do is you bring in jargon from your old world, from the industry that you're part of, or from the company that you worked in, and you don't provide enough context in terms of who you worked with, what is it that you delivered? When did this happen? Where did this happen? And why was this a problem? Take notes, write that down. Every time you describe what you've done, who, what, when, where, and why, right? Okay. Mistake number 2, you position yourself as the hero. And this is extremely important for those of you who are leaders. It's important to any person at any level that you never position yourself as the hero. But sometimes what happens is you end up bragging about what you've done because you feel like you have to impress the company. You give all these metrics, you pad your resume with all of these numbers because you've been told that you need to show metrics. And now everyone can fudge metrics and anyone can go on ChatGPT and put in a bunch of impressive things that you've done, like you're a mission-driven leader or whatever, right? But that's not what the company's looking for. They're not looking for a hero. What they are actually looking for is a guide. They want someone who helps them solve a specific problem. Okay? And so all of this is meaningless that this person has shared. And, when we look at what this person has shared, it's all a bunch of stuff around what they did. And what is missing here is that they haven't positioned themselves as a guide working with people and collaborating with people. Too much information on them being a doer and not enough on them being a strategic guide who actually is great at collaborating and influencing people. Okay, so that is the mistake. So remember, you're not the hero in your story. Your customer, the people that you serve, your boss, your teams, those are your heroes. And you are the advisor, you are the teacher, you are the guide who helps people solve problems. And when you position yourself that way, you're going to be less braggy and you're actually going to position yourself as a problem solver and a team player versus someone who is desperately trying to prove yourself. Okay? So here's a question for you. What does a great guide or a great doctor do? Let me know in the chat. I am curious if anyone can get this right. What does a great guide or a great doctor do? Bad doctors are quick to prescribe a solution. This is why when someone asks you in the interview, well, tell me about a time that you, let's say, aligned the team. And you go straight into the solution. Oh, I did this and I did that and blah, blah, blah. When instead, what you should be doing is you should be taking a step back and diagnosing the problem and explaining the importance of the problem. Here's an example, and I can't believe that I'm doing this on the fly, but I want to prove to you how I teach people, right? So that you can role modeling, so that you can learn. If I said to you that I helped a client land a basically um, a job at a gaming company. Is that powerful? A lot of career coaches can say that, right? Now, if I said to you that this client who came to me had a problem, and the problem was he didn't have a degree, he didn't have the title, he was a truck driver, so he lacked that authority in terms of landing the role that he wanted. And how I helped him is by basically owning his story and telling a story that caused the hiring manager to not give a crap about the fact that he didn't have a title, because that story of him launching a product and building it by himself while he was being a truck driver through his grit and launching it to the Apple store impressed them, that they didn't even give a crap about his certifications or degrees. And what that ended up doing is it completely changed his life. He is now in Portugal. He used to be in the US, in a very dangerous part of the US where there were shootings. And now he is happy with his partner, doing work that he loves, and it changed his life. You see the difference? I told you a story, and through telling you a story, not just sharing with you the win, I described the problem that this client was facing, which is a problem that probably you are facing that's relevant to you. And that's what you need to do in interviews. You need to describe a similar problem that the organization is trying to solve. You need to show them the complexity of the problem. In this situation, the complexity with this client, it wasn't easy helping him, right? Because he did not have the authority and credibility. It's easy for any career coach to take someone who already has the title, who already has all the clout, and help them land a job. But I helped someone who had so many hurdles, and it was a complex situation. And when you show the complexity, not just your wins, your story becomes powerful, and it positions you as a doctor and a trusted advisor. This is just a snapshot of my resume and how I basically help. There's my dog being silly because someone just knocked on my door. Say hi, Moose, to everyone. Little surprise. This is an example of my resume, right? And how I teach people to build a resume that actually tells a story, not a bunch of chat GPT keywords that makes you generic, but is specific enough and gives context and tells a story and shows the problem, right? Because here's the thing, I'm going to be honest with you all. Maybe you were able to get away with just talking about what you've done in, let us say, 2020 or 2021, right? In 2025, where every single person has access to Chat GPT, how are you going to compete with that? You need to be a great storyteller. So it's not always because, oh, there's so many people who apply to jobs and writing a resume no longer works. It's because you're not doing it in a way that stands out in front of everyone else. Think of the best brands out there. Actually, simple example. I live in Toronto, and in my neighborhood, within walking distance from where I live, there's probably 10 coffee shops within walking distance, but there's only one coffee shop that I go to consistently. So why is this coffee shop thriving and making a lot of money, even when the economy sucks, right? Even when there are 10 other coffee shops within walking distance from them? Because of the way they make themselves visible and because of the service that they provide. They have a big billboard sign right in front of their shop, and they're on a mailing list. The way they describe what they do is just very different than everyone else. Okay? So that just goes to show when you're thinking, oh, well, the economy's bad. Well, maybe this type of role is oversaturated. Yeah, okay. And you can also compete to a role that is not as oversaturated. But do you think you're going to get it if you're not describing what you do in a competitive way? Cool. Okay. Um, I obviously was tired last night and I didn't number this correctly. So this is supposed to be mistake number three. And it is a very important mistake. And that is you not having a North Star. This to me is like the most important mistake. Okay. Is a lot of you, because you're so scared and you're affected by the noise out there in terms of, oh, you should lower your standards or you should just increase your chances and try a whole bunch of roles. You're not clear and you're not honest about what you want to do. Okay. And that's what I call your North Star. This comes from my product background because I have launched, many products. I have been part of, billion-dollar platform launches. And this type of thinking is what I brought with me as a career coach in terms of helping people build a career that and market a skill set that others perceive as something that they truly need, right? It's the same thing as when we build products that have features that people care about. And so think of yourself in many ways as a product, and you have features, and the features that you need to be aware of need to be in demand. But the only way is not looking externally, but looking within and being honest with yourself. Because if you're just picking jobs that you're not, passionate about and you're not good at, then how are you going to convince people, right? So that is what I mean by North Star. North Star, that is how products become successful. And so when we're looking at a profile like this, where this person markets themselves as a scrum master, a product owner, a business analyst, and a product analyst, she's marketing herself as a fit for 4 different roles. What do you think the recruiter is going to think when they look at this profile? They're going to think, oh, this person is confused. This person doesn't know what they want. Well, I don't know what this person can help us with, right? Here are examples of brands that are clear about their value proposition and what they offer. It is beyond title. Google doesn't say, oh, we offer email services. Apple doesn't say, we, sell phones, right? There's more to it. It's not actually your title or necessarily pigeonholing yourself into a title. It's being even more specific than that. What is one thing that you do better than anyone else? Google, as an example, they own the fact that they're able to organize the world's information better than everyone else and make it universally accessible and useful. Now, for the sake of argument, maybe ChatGPT is going to, compete with them at this point. However, they're still successful and they still own that as their differentiator. So that's what I want you all to think about beyond the title. And this is something that is very, very hard to figure out on your own. Believe me, I know this, even as someone who does this for a living. I've hired coaches who help me figure out what is it that I do better than anyone else. And because I've been able to be clear about what I do better than everyone else, which, by the way, is helping people identify their career sweet spot, that's how I have been able to grow my visibility and get opportunities. So you need to have a clear brand purpose, and that is what makes you credible. Think about it. If you're shopping around for a surgeon, Are you going to hire a surgeon who tells you, well, I'm really good at heart surgeries and foot surgeries? Or are you going to hire a surgeon who has a deep mastery at, let's say, I don't know, when I was looking for a surgeon for my pancreas, I looked for someone who actually is specialized in helping, patients who have cysts that are bigger than 6 centimeters, right? I look for something that specific. Okay. Um, there are three things that you need to understand when it comes to identifying your North Star. And this is just one of the many, 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 many tools that I share with people. And so take note of this as well. I have a career archetype assessment. And as part of the career archetype assessment, there are many questions that I ask, but some of the questions help me help my clients get clear on those three aspects that will help them identify their North Star. One of them is you need to understand and you need to be clear on what type of social impact you want to make. What does it mean to you to make a social impact? With some people, social impact means that, I mean, for me, I want to help individuals, not necessarily organizations. And I want to help them own their career rather than let organizations determine it for them. I want to be able to change lives in the sense of enabling people to have financial freedom so that they can provide for their families. And with financial freedom, it opens doors for them to actually do more of the things that they enjoy, right? Some people, social impact could be just creating products that actually improve people's health. I have a client who is a director within the health space in product management. And her big why is she had a friend that she took to the hospital, and that friend basically did not have her medical history on hand. And thank goodness she had coached that friend to actually bring all of that to her appointment or to the emergency room. And if she didn't have that, she could have had an allergic reaction to the medication. And so her why is to actually transform the health space so that um, you know people's health doesn't get impacted negatively. So you got to understand your why. And a big portion of the work that I do with clients is take that why and connect it to what's out there. The second component of the career archetype assessment is you need to be clear on the types of problems that you want to solve, right? I know that as high achievers, you are all great problem solvers, but chances are you don't want to solve every problem out there. So we need to be specific on the actual problems you solve. And it can't be high level. It can't be I want to change people's lives. It can't be I want to create a great impact at organizations. It needs to be specific. For example, I love running discoveries. And one of the problems that I love solving in organizations is oftentimes um, in very siloed environments where every department does things differently, they lose that visibility of the end to end process in terms of what a product delivers. And so I create that universal view for them, despite them being siloed, right? Do you see how specific I am? The third one is your collaboration style. Every person enjoys collaborating in a different way, and you need to find an environment that supports your style of collaboration. Some people are okay with being in back to back meetings. Some people need some alone time to think and be creative, right? And so understanding your collaboration style is very important. And those are three important things that you need to answer in order to identify your North Star. Okay, so I know we are at the top of the hour from the time that I started, and I wanted to kind of stop here. And what I want to say is basically if you enjoyed this, right? And if you are feeling that you want to be more visible, then what I invite you to do is, based on these challenges and mistakes that I basically shared, send me a DM and I will share with you the free gift. Yes, I do help people with this at a deeper level. So if you're the kind of person who wants accountability, wants someone to sit down with you, look at your goals and break them down into tangible steps to help you land that ideal job or moonshot opportunity, then I do work with people on this closely. But you have to be serious because I don't work with thousands of people. If I did, I wouldn't have a life. And I also am very conscious about basically making time for my clients and giving them enough support. So I only take a limited number of people. If you are not as serious and maybe this isn't the right time for you to work with someone, then what I want to do is offer you a free resource because I have, been doing this for 5 years. I have a ton of resources and I want to make sure that you're given some hope or at least you are able to take the first step on your own, right? So do me a favor if you have stayed in the end, put in the comments I'm here. And then you'll be eligible for my free gift. Okay. I hope you all have a wonderful Friday. I hope that this has been very useful for you. I hope you take some of these mistakes that I have learned to heart and work on them. And what I want to say that if I was able to go from someone who was invisible to someone who constantly attracts opportunities and has someone reaching out to me, then I do believe you can. Okay. The only difference between you and me is I actually believed in myself, right? And I went through the journey. Okay? It's not there's nothing that happens like magically. Anyone who lies to you and says to you that this is going to happen overnight or it's not going to take effort is tricking you. And you know this as someone who's a high achiever, right? Okay. Hope you all have a wonderful Friday. Thank you so much for attending. If you can do me a favor, give me a like. If you watch this, it does help with the algorithm, and it also helps someone who really needs to see this to see it. Okay, hope to see you next time. Thank you, friends.